Well, greetings and salutations again, everybody. Welcome to the best movie-related show on the planet Earth, the John Campea Show, coming to you from right here in Hollywood, California, in our studio that we call The Stream, and apparently we don't stream very well. For those of you who might just be joining us right now, we tried starting the show off a little bit earlier, and then we use TriCaster technology here. It froze up. It doesn't matter. We just reboot the damn thing, and we're here back again. I am, of course, joined once again, by the great Robert Meyer Burnett. Robert, thanks for not leaving.
Well, it's
still staying here.
It's good to be here. You know, sometimes, as with any great production, you have to work through the difficulties, but eventually you get to where you're going.
We do get to where we're going, and we do have a whole bunch of stuff that we're going to talk about here today.
Yes.
We're going to talk about Toxic Avenger. We saw Aquaman. We're going to talk about does it live up to the hype. A few other things to talk about here, but we're going to get things started here with our main topics of the day. How do we select our main topics around here? Well, it's really simple. You guys select them by emailing me your topics and questions anytime to John at thejohncampeashow.com. That's John at thejohncampeashow.com. Make sure you put the word topic in the subject line. And as always, guys, please keep those emails to 90 words or less. With that said, let's go to our first email today. And our first email today comes to us from Brett Jessie, who writes, I can't wait for the upcoming comedy Holmes and Watson. I have noticed a few things, though, that give me concern. First, is there is only one trailer after most movies have more than one. Made-for-TV trailers are quick 15-second clips from the original trailer. Two, is I have not read or heard anything about the movie. Is there an embargo holding back early reviews, or am I just worried over nothing? All right, thanks a lot for the email, Brett. And first of all, every movie has embargoes. Every single movie has embargoes. It's all just a matter of when they have those embargoes lifted. But Robert, let me ask you, you've seen the marketing. We know Will Ferrell and John C. Reilly very well. What are your expectations? Do you think we should have, as fans, optimism going into this, or do you think there's reason for concern over Holmes and Watson?
Well, I mean, this duo has delivered for us before. You know, They haven't let us down. And look, we've seen The Crown, we've seen Downton Abbey, we've seen Robert Downey Jr.'s version of Sherlock Holmes. We've had Benedict Cumberbatch doing Holmes. We've got CBS has a Sherlock Holmes show.
Yes.
I mean, I think it's time that we do a send-up. And what better way to send up the character of Sherlock Holmes and Dr. John Watson than this? I mean, the trailers, I know were you keen on the trailers? I thought they were hilarious.
With the selfie thing with the Queen?
Well, yeah, I mean, look, it's kind of the airplane version of Holmes and Watson. I love Airplane.
Oh, yes.
You know,
Don't Call Me Shirley.
Don't Call Me Shirley. If you haven't seen Airplane, do yourself a favor.
You've never seen a spoof movie. Not really, unless you've seen Airplane. You've got to watch Airplane. I even like Airplane 2, for heaven's sakes.
I do too. Shatner's awesome in Airplane 2. But this, I want to see this movie. It looks like some dumb fun.
I'll tell you what, man. I want to see this movie because I'm a big fan of Will Ferrell, particularly Will Ferrell and John C. Reilly together. I'm a big fan of these guys. But, I mean, I saw that first trailer. Whew. I don't know, guys. I'll tell you what, that first trailer did not work for me. And you know what? You did bring up something really interesting in the email. There's a really good, valid point here. We are used to seeing most of these campaigns will have 2 or 3, sometimes 4 or 5 trailers. This has had one trailer that did not get received very well. The TV spots are basically just segments from the trailer.
Yeah.
Now, if you want to look at it optimistically, the one way you could look at that is going, hey, there are so many hilarious moments in this movie, they don't want to give more of them away in the trailers. You could look at it that way, for sure.
Yeah.
But, I mean, the realistic thing, though, here is this. Whether the movie turns out to be good or bad, and I hope it's great, because I love these guys together. I hope it's wonderful. But even if it does turn out to be wonderful, where should our expectations be? The reality is we shouldn't have very high expectations as far as how well is this movie going to do. Because, look, they've done 2 films together. I mean, technically you could say they did Anchorman 2 together, but John C. Reilly, very small role in that. Yeah. Really, they've done 2 films together. They've done Step Brothers, and they've done Talladega Nights, The Legend of Ricky Bobby.
Right.
And realistically, those ones, as great as they are, never made much money. Take a look at this. So Step Brothers, easily in my all-time top 10 best comedies ever, probably in my top 5. Ann and I will watch this movie once a year to once every 6 months. We love this movie. I cannot get enough of this movie. I laugh myself sick every single time. It doesn't matter how many times I watch it. I love it. But it only made worldwide, Robert, not domestically. Worldwide made $129 million. Then you look at Ricky Bobby. Right? A lot of people I don't like it as much as Step Brothers, but a lot of people like it even more than Step Brothers. And it gets talked about in very successful terms. But the reality is, Talladega Nights made $162 million worldwide, right? In total. So as we get coming into Holmes and Watson, realistically speaking, I mean, look, we haven't even taken into consideration the fact that it's opening in the Murderer's Row window. It's opening as Aquaman and Bumblebee and Mary Poppins and Spider-Man and the Spider-Verse and the dramas like Welcome to Marwen, Vice, Mule, Deadpool. I mean, even in the best of circumstances, I don't know that we could have high hopes as far as what kind of results it's going to get. As far as the quality goes, I got to admit, I'm pessimistic. I'm pessimistic at this point. I don't know. What do you think?
Well, it is counter-programming.
It is.
There's not a lot of great comedic fare out there other than maybe Once Upon a Deadpool, but I'm hoping that it'll be good. Look, I hope every movie will be good.
Sure.
And these two guys, the last two films, both I enjoyed.
Yeah, me too.
So I'm hoping that maybe it'll be. I mean, is it broad and stupid? Probably, but. It looks like it's good stupid as opposed to bad stupid.
Fingers crossed. All right, let's move on. What's our next topic here?
Well, our next topic is Trig Davidson says, "Hey, John, I'm a big fan of all the old Toxic Avengers stuff. Never in my wildest dreams would I ever imagine that someone would do a new studio version of them, but apparently that's happening. What do you make of this?" John, I'm with Trig. This is shocking news to me. And how do you feel about? And it's not just any studio; it's legendary.
I had to do a double take when I saw the headline at first. I'm like, I just caught out of the corner of my eye, Avenger, right? So I was like, oh yeah, story about it. Wait, but Toxic Avenger, that can't be right. That has to be the old Trauma. Lloyd Kaufman is coming back.
Right.
The old Trauma, really? Toxic Avenger? I had to do a double take on it. And at first, my thought at first is, well, that's dumb. And then I thought about it for a couple of minutes. Things like Deadpool and other material like that have shown that there is an audience out there for the ridiculous.
Right.
There is a space for the ridiculous. And, Lloyd Kaufman with Trauma and all that kind of stuff, they made a habit sometimes of very sneakily slipping in some observational, stuff in their material in the midst. And look, let's call it what it is. Trauma has made some vile, disgusting, shocking. That's what they were all into. What was that one about the chicken? The chicken, where the chicken zombies and this chicken place, and they have done some gruesome, weird ass things.
Street trash or combat shock.
They've done so much stuff like that. But you know what?
James Gunn began though.
That's exactly
Romeo and Juliet.
He kind of Lloyd Kaufman was kind of his mentor. That's why Lloyd Kaufman pops up and makes cameos from time to time in James Gunn's stuff.
Yes.
But yeah, so while my first reaction is kind of, well, that's dumb. The more I thought about it, it's with Legendary, and Legendary's done some very creative stuff, and we're going to talk about another Legendary project up here in just a bit, but I started to think, you know what? This is so ridiculous. This could be fantastic. So I'm not saying this is going to be good, but I'm saying I think there's enough potential here to do something that I'm not instantly going to think this is a bad idea. This has got some potential. You hear about this Toxic Avenger thing. What are your thoughts on it?
Well, in this day and age, with the Pacific gyres, with plastic in the oceans, with the EPA regulations being rescinded so we can have drilling on public lands and oil and industrial runoff in our lakes and streams, I don't think there's ever been a better time to have the Toxic Avenger come back now, because it's topical. I mean, we talk about global warming and climate change. Who better to save humanity than the Toxic Avenger? From our own bad habits.
You think, how about a team-up movie between Toxic Avenger and Swamp Thing?
I think, why not? Why not? I mean, they both kind of are dealing with the biosphere of the Earth. So, and get the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles to join in because they were obviously created because of toxic waste. So, I mean, there's a lot of potential here. Look, if Legendary's doing it, I think it could be kind of interesting because they bought it for a reason.
Yeah, and by the way,
someone has a take.
Troma and Lloyd Kaufman are attached as producers on it. They're going to be produced. Now, whether they'll be actually producers in name or they'll be creatively involved, who knows? But I do think it's interesting that Kaufman himself is actually attached to this film.
Yeah.
All right, let's move on to the next email today. And the next email today comes to us from Rafe Delmar, who writes, "Greetings, gentlemen. I know everyone is all excited for Lion King and Avengers, but the one I'm waiting for is Godzilla. Did you guys see the new trailer that dropped? And if so, what did you think of it?" Robert, we thought we were getting this trailer on Saturday, I thought, but it didn't. It dropped yesterday. We had a chance to see this Godzilla trailer. I know you've been particularly anxious to see the new trailer. Did it live up to your expectations? Are you happy with this trailer we got?
Oh, am I happy with this trailer that we got? Let me just tell you, John. Ghidorah is my favorite kaiju monster. From my favorite kaiju movie is Rodan, the original Rodan, who's also in this movie.
Yes, he is.
But Ghidorah, there's Ghidorah the three-headed monster, and then there is Monster Zero. That's the American title, where they found the aliens on Planet X had a problem with Ghidorah, so they borrow Rodan and Godzilla to fight Ghidorah, but that was just a lie. It was really a ploy to brainwash Godzilla and Rodan to take over the Earth along with King Ghidorah. At the end of this trailer, at the end of this second Godzilla King of the Monsters trailer, there is a Godzilla versus Ghidorah moment that I probably watched 20 times last night. And it was everything I could have ever wanted from a Godzilla movie that was not in the first Godzilla.
Right.
Well, I wanted to see monsters, not Mutos or whatever the hell they were called in that Godzilla movie. I wanted to see Godzilla fighting with personality against monsters that had equal personality, like Mothra, Musara. I mean, I'm going to get it all. And if the two girls at the Cosmos show up and sing the Mothra song, I mean, this movie looks like the kind of batshit insanity that I love. And I can't wait. I've loved kaiju movies since I was a kid. Bring it on.
The thing that I loved about this trailer, I thought they did a really good job with this trailer. They made it feel like a global event.
Oh, yeah.
They did not make it feel small. And that sounds ridiculous, but it's true. A lot of these trailers make their movies feel very small. And if you're going to have Godzilla and Ghidorah and all these others, you've got to make it feel like this is global impact on it.
Oh, it's apocalyptic. It looked apocalyptic to me.
Yes. And when you're watching this trailer, they communicated that amazingly while still slipping in this great Fast and the Furious kind of shot at the end where you got Godzilla on one side, Ghidorah on the other, and they're running at each other.
I mean, that's the thing. You see Godzilla kind of slowly, these monsters slowly make their way, other than Rodan flying, which they had. But man, it was cool to see them running at each other full tilt.
Yeah.
Like, come on.
And you want to see that impact. It reminds me a lot of the Batman v Superman one when the trailers show them start to running at each other and all. It's a classic shot that a lot of trailers use, but it looks so good. I'm just waiting now because you see when Godzilla starts to run, he's running through a city to go get to Ghidorah. I'm just waiting for all these people who whined and complained, Superman let too much of the city get destroyed in Batman versus. I wonder if they're going to complain about Godzilla's not a hero. Godzilla let so much of the city get destroyed. But anyway,
we're going to get that.
The trailer, though, again, I say this all the time. The job of a trailer is to take your anticipation level for a movie, no matter how high or how low that anticipation level is, and just bump it up a couple of notches.
Yep.
I've already been excited for this Godzilla movie. It's not my top 2 or 3 most anticipated of the year, admittedly, but I've been quite excited. But this trailer, it can't help but get your blood pumping and you're enthusiastic about it. And I love that opening with Millie Bobby Brown.
Oh, that's great.
They attached a humanity in the midst, because look, any like outfit can come out and do, all right, a big giant monster fighting a big giant monster. But can you do that and root it in the human experience and feel emotionally attached? And just that opening with Millie Bobby Brown and the other characters throughout it as well. This is not an either or. This trailer feels like a both and it knocks it out of the park on that level.
And Coach Taylor is in this movie. Coach
Yes.
Taylor is in this movie.
We were just talking about the
Yes,
other day.
we were, and I'll watch anything with Coach Taylor and giant monsters. I mean, come on, bring it on. And plus, you've got the great moment where the leaders of the world, of the military, is discussing what to do. Should we?
Oh, what a
do
line.
Do you suggest we make Godzilla pets?
Our pet? Are we going to make Godzilla our pet? No, we are his.
Yeah, it's so good. Ken Watanabe.
First, Ken Watanabe.
Oh, man.
First of all, put Ken Watanabe in anything.
Every movie, ever since The Last Samurai.
Yes.
You know, and absolutely. I can't wait for this movie. Mike Doherty, good on you, son. I can't wait.
Now, we do have to keep in mind that it is just a trailer. We've seen great trailers to horrible movies.
It's true.
I was psyched for the first Godzilla movie. I think a lot of us were. Let's see if they followed that up, though, here. All right, let's move on to the next email.
Well, the next email comes from Rochelle V. Rochelle, yes? Rochelle V. I saw on my Twitter that you and Robert went to go see Aquaman. Did we? John, did we go to see Aquaman
I think
yesterday?
I recall that, yes.
In IMAX, perhaps? I'm torn on it. On the one hand, I really like James Wan and the trailers, but on the other hand, I've been burned by DC movies before that I was excited about. Did you guys like it? Well, John, did you like Aquaman?
Well, I mean, we're in a little bit of an interesting pickle right now because we are doing this show right now. It is 9:46 a.m. Pacific Standard Time. The technical embargo for Aquaman lifts at 11 a.m. Pacific Standard Time this morning. However, social media reactions have been allowed, so people have been allowed to give social media reactions. So we're going to talk about this a little bit here, but we're going to have to be kind of defined about what it is we can and cannot say. I will tell you this. Let me first read to you my tweet. This was my tweet that I put out about Aquaman, and then I'll just explain the tweet a little bit. Here's what I wrote after coming out of Aquaman. I wrote this. I saw Aquaman. Definitely a win for Warner Brothers and DC. Loads of fun, and it is a real spectacle. It falls short in some areas with a couple of moments that they really could have done without. Still, a crowd pleaser. Though. Probably my third favorite DCEU movie. You should go and see it. So now, inevitably, a lot of people started asking me, your third, well, what's your first two? I suppose I should have put that in. Everybody knows my favorite DCEU movie is Man of Steel. I mean, to me, it's a top 10 greatest comic book movie of all time. So for me, that's always going to be up there. I wrestled for a moment about whether I preferred Wonder Woman or Aquaman. I am personally giving the slight edge to Wonder Woman a little bit. So I'm going to give the edge to Wonder Woman over Aquaman a little bit. But I do put Aquaman above Justice League, which I enjoyed. I put it above Batman vs. Superman, which I enjoyed. And I certainly put it above Suicide Squad, which I also enjoyed, despite the fact that it was a hot mess of a movie.
Yeah.
But I still had fun with it. Aquaman, to me, is, like I said right at the beginning of the tweet, it's a win. This is a win for DC, and DC needed a win coming out of Justice League, which, I mean, look, Justice League was coming out of Wonder Woman, which was their first true across-the-board win. It was, the audience loved it, the critics loved it, and it was big success at the box office. And they had the opportunity to follow that up. You know, you start with the jab, you come in with the cross. They had the opportunity with Justice League to come in with the cross and totally reset the perception of the DCEU. Unfortunately, even though I liked it, and I think some other people liked it, ultimately Justice League was a very divisive film. It did not have anywhere near the box office success that it should have had. As a matter of fact, it was the lowest grossing of all the DCEU movies. Coming into Aquaman, they needed a win. And we're going to be able to talk about and discuss how much of a win Aquaman is over the coming days, particularly after the embargo lifts. But you know what? A win's a win. Your Seattle Seahawks yesterday had a very ugly win, but a win's a win. And I do think Aquaman is a win. It delivers a lot of really good stuff, and I think the majority of people are going to enjoy it and like it. I don't think this is going to be a movie that everybody loves. It's not going to have the same cross-the-board grand reception that, say, Wonder Woman did.
Right.
And that's fine. And it doesn't necessarily need to be on that level. But it's a win. It's an enjoyable film that I think even a lot of people who are very, negative towards a Justice League, a Suicide Squad, a Batman versus Superman. I even think a lot of those people are going to come out of Aquaman going, yeah, that was a good time. But anyway, you came out of it. What were your initial thoughts?
Well, I'm always talking about verisimilitude in superhero movies. And I think beginning with pretty much with X-Men, Bryan Singer's X-Men in 2000, there's been an attempt to make superhero films feel very real world. Certainly the Christopher Nolan movies do that. The Earthbound Marvel Cinematic Universe movies try and make us believe that Captain America and Hawkeye and the Avengers can exist in our world today, even with Thor.
Right.
This movie is the exact opposite of that. And that, to me, is if you're going to go in the other direction, you got to go for broke and go all in. There's a snippet at the beginning of Aquaman on TV where they're showing the early 60s Jerry Anderson Super Marionation series Stingray that predates the Thunderbirds and Captain Scarlet. This movie is like if Jerry Anderson was given $200 million to make a giant Super Marionation epic with all of that craziness in it, with giant fish submarines that fire missiles, and if you took some of the design from Tron Legacy and matched it up with I don't know what. I mean, this movie is bonkers. It is bonkers the way I've never seen a movie be before, and I loved every minute of this. I mean, is it going to make you feel like The Dark Knight? No. But it's going to make you feel like I felt when I watched Godzilla versus Monster Zero for the first time, and you saw King Ghidorah fighting Godzilla and Rodan. You know, it's that kind of a film. And if you go into it embracing your inner child and embracing the hell's a boppin' crazy fantasy imagery that you get in this movie, it's nuts. I mean, we've seen in the trailers, Aquaman and Mera, they just jump out of an airplane when they want to, into the middle of the Sahara Desert. You see that in the trailer. You've seen all this craziness. Well, I said in a tweet that I made, I go, this movie is like one of the members of the great band Spinal Tap said, this movie goes to 11.
But it goes to 11.
It goes to 11.
You see, it goes to 11.
And you know what? Something Drew McWeeny said. There's a scene, I know you weren't a fan of this, when before
okay, Drew McWeeny wrote it.
Drew McWeeny wrote this. Drew McWeeny wrote this.
This is out in public, yeah.
It's out in public. There's a scene when an octopus is playing the drums to make way for a battle sequence. An octopus is playing the drums. If that floats your boat, and it floated mine, or sinks your
ship?
submarine, then you're gonna like this movie. But go in with the awe and wonder you felt as a child, and you will like this movie.
Now, look, a lot of you guys have seen, because early social media reactions for Aquaman actually came out a little while ago, and they were all pretty much quite positive.
Yes.
They were pretty much quite positive. So let me ask you this, Robert. With Aquaman coming out, I think right now we're going to know more at 11 o'clock when the reviews really do start dropping. We start seeing the Rotten Tomatoes. But I am getting the impression, both from the early reactions and from seeing the movie myself, I believe this is going to be not a 95% movie on Rotten Tomato, but this is going to, by and large, be a positively received movie. I think this is going to be, for DC, a positively received movie, probably second most positively received, just after Wonder Woman. With this, how do you think this positive reception that we're going to get here is going to play into the DCU, and what kind of footing does this put the DCU on and the DCU moving forward? And how, if at all, does this change perceptions of the DC movie universe as we move forward?
Well, you know, a lot of people, this certainly isn't a dark movie, even though it has a certain apocalyptic bent. It's so colorful and so much fun to watch, and so full of moments where you'll just grin from ear to ear because of the craziness on display. I think as far as the perception of what these movies should be, there's going to be critics that are like, this is what a comic book movie should be. But, you know, they're going to say, like, this brings back the fun that you had reading comics as a kid. There's going to be a lot of fans who want to see The Dark Knight.
Right.
That are going to be like, they're going to reject this out of hand. But I think kids, families, parents who tried to take their kids to Batman v Superman: Dawn of Justice and are like, Superman gets killed. Doomsday runs rampant. I mean, where was the joy? You know, families are going to eat this movie up. It might not be the kind of genre film that a lot of diehard comic book movie fans of late want, but it's very different than that. It's a unique animal, and I think Aquaman has carved his own place out in the DCEU, and it's a good place to be.
I will make one observation, though, without going too much into the. This is not a review. This is not, but the one observation. I said going into this movie, Robert, that I believed that while this is definitely all in the DCEU,
right?
I believed you weren't going to get a lot of references to the DCEU in this movie. And I said that going in because they've had some struggles with the DCEU and they're trying to kind of reassess and reestablish a new identity, right? So I said going into it, I didn't think there was going to be much. There is, other than one very quick passing reference to something.
Yeah.
There's absolutely, if you went in and watched Aquaman and you blinked when this one quick reference was made, you would never know that this movie was a part of the DCEU.
Right.
Other than one quick reference. So it is interesting to see, and now I'm looking forward, moving forward is, do they continue that trend of kind of distancing itself a little bit from the previous films of the DCEU as we get into Shazam, as we get into Wonder Woman 1984, as we get into Birds of Prey? How are they going to handle that? It's going to be interesting to see.
Yeah.
All right, let's move on now to the final email of the day. And the final email today comes to us from Just the Facts. And Just the Facts writes, Shazam is going to release on the 5th of April 2019, 22 days before Avengers. And it still does not have a second trailer. Oh gosh, now we're complaining about how long it is till we get a second trailer. Anyway, it still doesn't have a second trailer. Variety's poll shows that only 29% of DC fans say Shazam is their most anticipated comic book film, despite it being the only 2019 DCU movie. That's true. It is the only 2019 DCU movie. The Captain Marvel trailers have had at least got more views and likes than the Shazam trailer. Will Shazam suffer due to the trailer for Avengers? All right, thanks a lot for that question. But Robert, let me phrase it to you this way. With all of the hoopla right now about Aquaman now releasing, about the Captain Marvel, we just got our second trailer for that, about Avengers coming out, and Avengers opening up, like you said, just 3 weeks after Shazam. Do you feel like right now, do you have a sense that right now that Shazam, which is, again, as Just the Facts pointed out, the only DCU movie we're getting in 2019, do you feel right now that Shazam is now getting forgotten and overlooked a little bit? Or do you think, no, that's much ado about nothing? How are you feeling about that right now?
I really do feel it's sort of much ado about nothing because, as you pointed out, we have this murderer's row of movies that are filling up the end of the year. We know Shazam's coming. They gave the audience, the built-in audience, a taste of the movie. Big meets superheroes. I'm in. I think that's great. But to try and promote Shazam now, this month, it's probably a good bet that they shouldn't. I mean, it's not just the Avengers trailer. It's Captain Marvel. It's Mary Poppins. It's you've got Aquaman. They wanted to clear the decks for Aquaman. They don't want people going, well, I'm really excited for Shazam, and remind people. I'm sure beginning in January, we'll see all kinds of marketing for Shazam because right now there's a logjam of great fantasy cinema coming our way.
Yes.
And you don't want things to get lost in the shuffle. Infinity War would rise, or pardon me, Endgame would rise above anything that would cut through no matter what cacophony of noise is coming down on our heads. But Shazam, Shazam needs time. They need time, and it needs a moment where it can be unto itself. And I think it's Captain Marvel. You're going to have Captain Marvel, and the lead up to that, you'll see Shazam stuff, and then right after, Shazam follows on the heels of Captain Marvel. So I think after the first year, we're going to get a new trailer.
There are two things to look at and to point out here. The first thing is this. Is Captain Marvel right now, is Shazam, I should say, is Shazam getting lost a little bit in the shuffle right now? Yeah. Yeah, I would say it is. But I don't think that's unexpected, nor do I think is that surprising or catching anybody at DC and the offices at Warner Brothers by surprise. Like you pointed out so accurately, we've got Like, we just had this big trailer for Avengers, Captain Marvel. But forget the trailers. We have Aquaman coming out in theaters. We have Bumblebee coming out in theaters. We have Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse. All films that kind of fall into this same demographic that Shazam's going after, right? Then, of course, on top of it, you got Mary Poppins, the Oscar films, all that kind of stuff, right? So is it getting a little bit lost in the shuffle right now? Yes. But that's okay.
Right.
The second part of the question that I find was kind of implied in the email, and we get a lot of, is, why on earth are you releasing Shazam in the same month as Avengers Endgame? And the answer to that is really simple. It's 3 weeks separated.
Right.
Do not underestimate this. 3 weeks separated in theatrical release windows is an eternity. Because I'm going to tell you what, Avengers or not, by the time Captain Marvel is going to be still sitting in its third weekend of release without Avengers, right? It's going to be sitting in its third weekend of release without Avengers. By the time Avengers comes out, Captain Marvel, regardless of Avengers, will have already made probably 90% of the money it was going to make at the box office anyway.
Right.
So is Shazam getting a little bit lost in the shuffle right now? Yeah, that's fair to say, but it's not unexpected. Is it a problem, or does it pose a problem that it's opening in the same month as Endgame? No, because it's still separated by so many weeks, and it's going to make most of its money already anyway. I'm not sitting here telling you Shazam's going to be $1 billion film.
Right.
Like, by any stretch of the imagination, not at all. But it's going to be okay, and it's going to be fine. And again, Robert, you were 100% correct. Wait till we get into late January.
Yeah.
Once we get into late January, then you're going to start to see DC go, okay, Bumblebee's gone, Aquaman's gone. All right, roll out the next phase of the marketing.
I also think that it was really shrewd. Aquaman, the fantasy context and the imagination on display in Aquaman, and there's a lot of it. The tone of that movie is sort of moving us away from this darkness that has sort of permeated. I mean, even Wonder Woman, there's trench warfare in World War I.
Yeah.
Aquaman really tees up Shazam to have a fun time at the movies.
It does. Yeah.
And I think it was a really smart move. I mean, once we marinate on the fact that Aquaman is the kind of movie it is, I think that we are going to be ready for Shazam.
It is. Aquaman will, to a degree, condition the audiences a little bit.
Absolutely.
To prepare for Shazam, and maybe a tonal difference in Wonder Woman 1984 as well compared to the first one. All right, guys, that will do it for all the emailing questions today. But as always, we'd like to save a little bit of time here on the John Campea Show to take some live questions because, we do this show live, and a lot of you guys are watching us live. We like to take those questions. So let's jump over and take the questions that have started coming in already. We're going to start off with Star Killer, who writes in, a Michael Bay, or Christopher Nolan directed Power Rangers movie would be great. I got to disagree on both fronts. Number one, a Power Rangers movie is not a Christopher Nolan kind of film. So I'm going to disagree on that 100%. Now, don't get me wrong. Hollywood Reporter runs a headline tomorrow, Christopher Nolan directing a Power Rangers movie. That's going to get our attention, but that's not a match. That's just not a match. And Michael, no.
Look, I agree with you. A director has to be paired with the right material that they can most well serve. I don't think either one of those directors doing a Power Rangers movie it would change the Power Rangers away from something that they aren't.
Yes. All right. Wave Wonder writes, after Bumblebee, where does this franchise go now? It's too difficult for me to talk about because the movie has not come out yet, and I don't want to give anything away. So, I mean, all I'll say is this. Is that this Bumblebee movie is truly a reboot of the franchise. It is a clean reboot of the franchise. It doesn't look like it, and I didn't really think it was going into it, but it is. It's a clean reboot, and I'll just say they clearly end this movie in such a way that it's ready for the next chapter, but I can't give any more details than that because I've seen the movie, and most of you have not because it's not in theaters yet, so I'll just leave it at that. Ben Hayusa writes, that new Godzilla trailer is nothing more than spectacular. The ending with Godzilla and King Ghidorah charging at each other, excited for Aquaman as well. And yeah, we just talked about this Godzilla trailer. It was, as a trailer, and we understand we're just talking about trailer.
Yeah.
But as a trailer, it delivered everything we were hoping it would be. Did we not?
Yes. Yes. I loved every minute of it. all 2.5 minutes of it.
Star Killer follows up and says, what black superhero would you like to see on the big screen next? I have been giving the same answer to this question for years. Because, and you might be able to guess when I say this next thing, which hero I'm going to say. Because I have always been such a massive fan, and my all-time favorite comic book story is Age of Apocalypse. I have for years, and I know we've seen this character on screen, but he's never been anywhere near a main character. I have for years wanted a Bishop movie. I think Bishop would be a fascinating movie.
I can't believe you said that, because that is exactly what I love. The character of Bishop. From the time he was introduced, he came from the future, the whole Trevor Fitzroy, all that stuff that was going on. I was going to say the exact same thing. And he was in Days of Future Past.
Yes.
But
briefly.
But yes, Bishop should have been, Mike Coulter should play Bishop with the Jerry curl when we first saw Bishop show up from the future. I mean, I love Bishop, but if it's not Bishop, I want Jon Stewart.
Oh, really? A lot of people do.
They keep talking about Jon Stewart being greenlit. Common was rumored to play Jon Stewart.
Yeah, that never had any real legs.
I really want to see a Jon Stewart Green Lantern, and I know they keep talking about making a Green Lantern Corps film, but let's bring that on. And I love Jon Stewart. I've always loved Jon Stewart. I loved Jon Stewart when I was a kid, and he was introduced in the comics the first time, and I'd love to see a Jon Stewart movie, but man, I love Bishop. I love that idea.
I love Bishop. James Welsh writes, what did you think of Julie Andrews voicing the Carathan? I don't know. The review embargo's still up. I don't know if I want to go into specifics about the movie. Let's just say this. I liked it. I'll just say that. I like that.
Me too.
Okay. But we'll talk more about it. I'm sure on the Weekly Hero this week, we'll go more into Aquaman because the review embargo will be lifted, but I don't want to go into too many specifics here. PGML writes, I'm seeing Once Upon a Deadpool. I'm excited. I cannot believe how excited I'm getting about this. By the way, did you see that follow-up piece of marketing they did? We're carrying on the conversation with Savage, talking about Nickelback and Deadpool defending Nickelback.
And then we saw the Respect the Back that we didn't know what that was.
Which I didn't know what that meant at the time.
And now I watched Nickelback came back on social media.
Oh, did they?
Yeah, and they're excited, and it was just, first of all, I love that kind of stuff. It's so great when the pop culture melds and explodes in interesting ways.
All right, Paul writes, if the next Avengers 4 trailer is just a naked Kevin Feige shouting, come and see my movie, I'll donate $500 super chat. Love your comment on Friday. So for those of you who weren't around, I said, look, let's be honest. Because the movie is Avengers 4, everybody was going to freak out about the trailer no matter what. I said the trailer could have been a title card that said Avengers 4 Endgame, and then a naked Kevin Feige pinwheeling his dick going, you're going to come see my movie. People would still say it's the greatest trailer ever. And it's true. We would have. And so that's what Paul is referencing. So I got to put in an email to Kevin Feige to see if he can now put that out because I would love that $500.
Yeah,
so
I'm
going to hold you to that, Paul.
He has a hot toy of himself. I want that.
He does have a hot toy of himself.
Yeah.
That's when you know you've made it.
I know.
Is when Hot Toys makes a figure of you.
I don't need an Academy Award, just a hot toy of me.
Star Killer writes, my best date movie was Django. What's yours? Django's actually a good date movie because it's exciting, but it's also got some funny stuff to it, but it's also got some stuff to talk about afterwards. To me, the greatest date movie was, and I talk about this film once in a while, it's a little romantic comedy called Return to Me with David Duchovny and Minnie Driver. Jim Belushi's also in it. It is a wonderful, heartfelt, but it's funny, but it's also romantic, and it's a beautiful movie. Have you ever seen Return to Me?
I have not.
There is a scene in this movie that will break you. It's a scene, and I'm not spoiling anything because this all happens in the first 5 or 6 minutes of the film. The basic gist of Return to Me is David Duchovny is in this magnificent marriage. Him and his wife, and they got this great dog, and they love them. They love each other. She is his world. They get into a car accident. She dies. And she's an organ donator. Minnie Driver is a character who needs a heart transplant. She gets a heart transplant.
Okay.
From David Duchovny's deceased wife. There is this scene in this movie. Fuck you, I'm not crying, you're crying. I'm going to hold it together here as I talk about this scene, all right? I'm going to hold it together, but there is this scene, because I love dogs, man. But anyway, there's this scene, because in the opening couple of minutes, it always shows, like, their dog loves David Duchovny's wife. Like, when they come home, the dog will still wait at the door for the mom to come through the door, right? And David Duchovny comes back from the hospital after they tell him his wife died in the accident. And he's still kind of got some of her blood on his shirt. And he comes in, and the dog, he closes the door behind him, and he just collapses on the floor, leaning with his back to the door. And the dog comes up and sits by the door, looking up at the door, waiting for the mom to come in. And there's this 45-second scene of Duchovny just telling the dog she's not coming home. And he starts to... It is the greatest acting that David Duchovny ever has and ever will, given his impressive career. The acting in that scene will break you. And it's a romantic comedy, but that's just the setup of the movie. I know I've gone way too long on this topic, but oh my God, I love this. And Jim Belushi's hilarious in this movie. Check out Return to Me if you get a chance. It's inspiring, it's moving, but it's really funny too. So see it if you get a chance, man.
Here's my date movie. And it's been responsible for many good dates, but I'm going to leave it up to you to figure out why. Zalman King's masterwork, Two Moon Junction, starring Sherilyn Fenn and Richard Tyson.
I've never seen that one.
That's all I'm going to say. It's available on Blu-ray from the UK from 88 Films. Just watch the trailer. You'll understand.
All right, I'm Upset writes, better acting chops, John Cena, Dave Bautista, or Triple H. I got to go Dave Bautista. I mean, look, let's say this right up front. None of these guys are great thespians. None of them are great thespians. But Dave Bautista, when you watch like Blade Runner
2049, great.
You see he's making a lot of progress.
Yeah.
And he's very humble, making progress. And you know what? You put John Cena in the right small role, he can really deliver something good for you comedically. But after watching Blockers and after watching him in Bumblebee, I'm still at the place where you can't put John Cena in any kind of a major role. He's not ready. He's just not there yet. And Triple H, one of my all-time favorite wrestlers, but he's not an actor.
I agree with you. I'm all about Dave Bautista, but I think that John Cena is... I saw him on the Graham Norton show last week. I love the Graham Norton show. He's just very over the top. He needs to have a director to bring it back in so he can do what he did on like Bridesmaids.
Yes.
You know, somebody, because I think he's really funny and he's a great personality, but he's got to be reined in.
All right, let's see what's next here. Santez Henderson writes, I really hope I like Aquaman. Can't take it if I don't. DC characters have rich histories. To see their stories not told in a good way is disappointing. Well, everybody feels that about characters that they like, and pretty much all comic book characters. And everybody goes into these comic book movies wanting them to be good. I can't guarantee it for sure, but I think Aquaman is a crowd pleaser. And I think you're going to be happy, Santez. I think you're going to be happy. Murray Reich writes, does Chris Collingsworth get on your nerves every time he says the famous line, now here's a guy? It's funny and annoying at the same time. I'll tell you what, I know a lot of people don't like Chris Collingsworth, and a lot of people are going, who the hell are they talking about? He's a play-by-play guy. He's a color commentator for Monday Night Football. And he was a wide receiver in the NFL. I love his commentary. I think he's a great pundit, and I get a big kick out of him. Yes. Now here's a guy. Like, he does say that a lot, but personally, I like it. Do you listen to Collingsworth?
I do. That's fine. It's a shtick.
Yeah.
You know, let it happen. Shtick.
Daryl Best Wadley writes, I think Tony and Nebula being stranded in the ship is the opening scene, which will end with a big rescue by Cap and Widow before the title is shown. Well, look, I said before, and I still stand by this, I think everything we saw in the Avengers Endgame trailer all happens in the first act. As a matter of fact, I might even be willing to put $5 that it all happens in the first half of the first act. And certainly the Tony thing, but I still don't think Nebula's on that ship with him.
I also don't think he's going to be rescued.
You think he's going to die.
I think if anything, he's going to die, or the movie's going to open the same way. Remember, there's going to be no heroic rescue in the beginning of this movie. This movie ends with half the universe decimated in the Thanos decimation. You can't have a heroic moment in the first 10 minutes of this film. The heroic moments are going to come after a very hard-earned, hard-fought battle with fate, with time, with power, with Thanos, whatever. They're not gonna get rescued in the beginning of this movie.
All right, I think they are. So we'll find out. We'll find out. Let's see. Tyler Yeats writes, change is hard for me. I might be moving out to a new apartment with some friends in a few months. Any advice? Oh, embrace change.
Yep.
Change is life. Here's a biological truism. When something stops changing, it's dying. So that's life. That's a great just overall analogy for life. Embrace change, the adventures that they bring. Change can be difficult and a little bit scary because you don't know what's coming. We were actually we had lunch the other day, you and I, and we were actually talking about change and taking risks. And there is no growth in life without change. Embrace it.
You know, I keep thinking about the words of Duke Leto Atreides, Paul Atreides' father in Dune, who said, "The sleeper must awaken. A person needs new experiences. They stir something deep within us. Go out and change."
John DeBenedict writes, how were Orm and Black Manta in the movie? Again, the review embargo has not been lifted. We can't go into any details. All I will say is I liked Orm and Black Manta. I can go into no more detail than that, so I'm just going to leave it at that. Murray Reich writes, it's time for AMC's Dolby /Prime /IMAX/Red Recliner rooms to have a place to put your popcorn in, because whenever I put, mine's always spills. First world problems. You know what is funny? I went to go see Bumblebee the other night in an AMC at Universal City Walk. They had these great leather recliner chairs, not in their IMAX theater, but in they have these leather recliners, and they're a great place. But there is no place to put your popcorn. In AMC dine-in theaters, they like an airplane seat. They have this tray that will pop up and come out in front of you and put all your food down in front of it. Very much a first world problem, but yes, with so much luxury that they're putting in these things, a little place to put your popcorn may not be a bad idea, Murray. Starkiller writes, if you could choose between watching Avatar 2 or a James Wan-directed Avatar The Last Airbender reboot movie, which would you pick first to watch? Oh, well, I think a part of this is because, well, I've already seen James Cameron's Avatar. This is a sequel, but I've already seen it. A James Wan Avatar The Last Airbender, that is something I have not seen. Love James Wan as a director. So not because I think James Wan is a better director than James Cameron. That would be folly to say at this point. James Wan is great, but, you know, Cameron has got just a repertoire that's undisputable.
Yeah, I got to go with the Cameron.
Really? You go see Avatar 2 before an Avatar The Last Airbender as rebooted by James Wan?
Yes, because James Cameron has been taking my breath away since '84.
No, this is true.
Saw Terminator.
This is true.
I mean, no one has delivered more satisfying genre entertainment consistently than James Cameron.
All right. Baby Boy 8603 writes, hey, John, do you have a top 3 favorite? I generally don't do top 3, top 5 questions. But anyway, I'll read it out. Hey, John, do you have a top 3 favorite Quentin Tarantino movies? Mine are Django Unchained, Hateful Eight, and Kill Bill Volume 1. Well, I mean, I certainly like... you know what? I think Hateful Eight might be my least favorite Quentin Tarantino movie, as a matter of fact. You know, a lot of people were talking about... well, why didn't Hateful Eight do that well, especially coming off of Django Unchained? Is it because of this, all the controversy about the format and the what? And I'm like, no, it just wasn't that good. I mean, to Quentin Tarantino standards, I just didn't think it was all that good. It's certainly following up with Django, and I love Django.
Yeah, it's a slow burn. It's a different kind of a movie. It's more. I watched it the other day. I'd only seen it once, and I literally watched it the other day, and I enjoyed it a lot more because I knew it was a slow burn going in. But Django and Inglourious Bastards are so much fun. So much fun.
Speaking of Inglourious Bastards, that might be my favorite Quentin Tarantino movie. And the funny thing is, the first time I saw it, I didn't dislike it. I hated it. Hated it. And then like 6 months later, I had a date over, and she wanted to watch Inglourious Bastards because she had never seen it. And I'm like, you're on a date, guys. You do what she wants. I mean, that's just if that's what she wants to do, that's what we're going to do. So I put it up, and I watch it, and I'm like, what was wrong with me the first time I love this. Like it's the one time I've never had that experience like that where I watched the movie the first time, completely hated it.
Yeah.
And then upon my second viewing, didn't just sort of change my mind, but completely loved it. I've never had that happen since, but that was that movie for me.
The Talented Mr. Ripley was that with me. I saw it. I was very hungover, and I saw it on the day after Christmas. I think we went to a double feature of Any Given Sunday, Oliver Stone's Any Given Sunday, and The Talented Mr. Ripley. And I hated The Talented Mr. Ripley, and I love English Patient so much. I was so excited for it. But now I love The Talented Mr. Ripley. I watch it whenever I can. Starkiller
writes, what is your favorite color lightsaber and why? I don't know. You can't... Why is blue your favorite color? Because it is. I guess I like seeing the blue lightsaber. I cannot give any explanation why. I look at it, it gets the best reaction at me. So I like blue. You had a particular favorite color?
Well, I like the red lightsaber because, that's what we saw. We saw Vader unsheath his red lightsaber. But I got to say, Sam Jackson rocking that purple saber.
Lightsaber.
I dig the purple saber because I'm a huge Prince fan.
Alan Gonzalez writes, John Cena as Duke Nukem. They've been talking about that forever. And as a matter of fact, a new piece of news just came out that one of the producers from the Assassin's Creed movie, which was awful, is going on to produce as well a Duke Nukem. Now, Paramount Pictures, when John Cena was in discussion that he was in talks to become Duke Nukem, that was back when this movie was going to be done by Paramount.
Right.
The movie is, no longer at Paramount. So I don't think Cena's attached again. There was a time that I would have gone, John Cena's Duke Nukem? Yeah. After seeing Blockers and Bumblebee, I just don't think he can't carry a movie. Maybe he will at some point, but we're not at that point yet, so I'm going to take a no on that. K Cinema writes, if movies aren't allowed to come out until 3 months after theatrical release, why is Venom coming out this month? It only came out 2 months ago. I don't know exactly how many weeks ago it came out. Actually, let me just look this up quick. Venom release date was October 5th. So October, November, December. When does it come out on home video?
I'm not sure.
Because it's already been 9 weeks.
Right.
So if it comes out in 2 more weeks, now you're into 11, 12 week range. I think it is. It's roughly 11 or 12 weeks is the window.
Yeah.
There may be some exceptions with certain contracts, but I think it's rare. But even if I'm not quite sure. Venom may come out today for all I know, but if it doesn't come out for another week or two, you're getting into that range anyway. So it feels short, but I think it's actually pretty standard.
And also, they didn't expect it to be the hit that it was going to be.
No, yeah,
so
true.
They need that home video revenue, whether it's streaming or physical media, to help pay off. They borrow the money to make these movies. Studios don't have hundreds of millions of dollars just sitting around, and they got to pay back those interest payments, so they've got to get that revenue stream
But
going.
remember, it's not a matter of when they want to. There are contracts that these studios have with the exhibitors about how long they have to wait. So, but I think it's still going to fall within that window. I think it still will. Let's see. Baby Boy 8603 writes, hey John, didn't get a chance to see A Simple Favor in theaters. The movie was released today digitally, but not available to rent. Is it worth buying? You know what? I don't buy a lot of movies because I have to see so many new movies as they come out. I don't have a lot of time to sit down and watch older movies, so I don't buy. And when I do get in the mood, I'll just rent it for $3. I don't buy a lot. So whether or not something is worth it to you to buy, I will say this: see A Simple Favor when you get a chance.
Yep.
See A Simple Favor. It is smart. It's very unique. I've never quite seen a film like it before. Blake Lively, Anna Kendrick are amazing in this. And you know what? I know a lot of people crap on Paul Feig because they didn't like Ghostbusters. Whatever. Paul Feig directs this movie, and he directs the shit out of this movie. You had a chance to see it?
I have not, but unfortunately it was spoiled for me.
Oh no, really?
Yes.
Still worth seeing.
I'm going to see it.
Still worth seeing. Yeah, if you get a chance to see
I'll
A
see
Simple
anything
Favor, it's
Blake
great.
Lively is in.
She's wonderful.
If you want to see a movie that is wonderful, one of my favorite fantasy films the last couple of years, The Age of Adeline.
Oh yeah, I totally forgot she was in that.
So good. She's so good in that movie.
Let's see here. Christopher Benson writes, can you think of an actress that has fallen off as badly as Katherine Heigl? She's gone from Emmy nominations to NyQuil commercials. Yeah, she kind of hit her apex when Knocked Up came out. And by the way, Katherine Heigl is in a little romantic comedy that everybody hates. And I don't care. I think it's freaking hilarious. She's in this little romantic comedy with Gerard Butler called The Ugly Truth. And everybody hates this movie. And I don't know what y'all are smoking because I think this movie is hilarious. I think it's great. But she did have, one of the biggest disappearing acts I ever remember? And I'm freezing on the girl who starred in the remake of Sabrina with Harrison Ford. And she was also in First Night with Richard Gere and
was it
Sean
Julia
Connery.
Ormond?
Julia Ormond. She was becoming in that era, she's the new Julia Roberts. She's the next Julia Roberts. She was dominating, and then she did that one, a river runs through it. Is that the one? I can't remember if that was one, but she was like the girl. By the way, the remake of Sabrina with Greg Kinnear, Harrison Ford, Julia Ormond, fantastic. But she was like
John Williams score.
Yes, she was like the new it girl in Hollywood, and then poof, overnight, she disappeared for like more than a decade. I, to this day, have never really known what happened.
Yeah.
To this day. But she was beautiful and talented, and that was a huge disappearing act. Let's see, where are we at here? Sam Speaks writes, why is nobody talking about the fact that Disney already has a streaming service called Disney Life? Is it UK only, from your number one fan? Oh, well, thank you, Sam, but I have never heard of Disney Life.
No, me neither.
What about Jonathan? You ever hear of it? No, Jonathan, Ray, you? Nobody's here has ever heard of it. So now I got to look into it. Thanks for putting it on my radar, Sam. Murray Reich writes, nitpicking the movie. We had a little thing about nitpicking earlier. We'll get to that in a bit. Let's see where we at. Cobra writes, Godzilla trailer. Best trailer of the year, in my opinion. I don't think I'd say best of the year, but damn it, you got to say it's in the conversation.
Oh, look, the first trailer when they used Debussy's Claire de Lune as the music in the trailer, when Godzilla sticks his head up and blows his nuclear fire breath into the sky, and the Mothra unfurling her wing, I loved it.
Like I said, Cole, I'm not ready to call it the best of the year, but I will say it's in the conversation.
Yeah.
It's a fabulous, fabulous trailer. D-Hig75 writes, any chance of a Battlestar Galactica film? Look, they've been talking about maybe trying to do a Battlestar Galactica movie forever. I want them to do it. The mythology is great and rich. We're far enough away now from Ronald D. Moore's epic. By the way, my all-time favorite television series is Ronald Moore's Battlestar Galactica. I think we're far enough away from it. So hopefully in the next... Bryan Singer was actually looking at Battlestar Galactica for a while.
Basically, 9/11 killed his version of Battlestar Galactica, which was a direct continuation of the original series.
Right.
So, I love Ronald Moore's series. I don't know how you could make a movie that would come anywhere near what they did with that reboot series.
I'd love to see them try, though.
Yeah, I know.
By the way, you and I were in a toy store yesterday before Aquaman, and they had a model of a Viper. And as much as I am the Star Wars guy, I mean, Star Wars is everything to me. My all-time favorite in all science fiction, space fighter, is always the Battlestar Galactica Viper. The Viper will always be my number one favorite thing. Let's see. David Coca writes, if Hulk and Banner are separate entities in the same body, could Hulk have been snapped out of existence but not Banner? Just wondering. They're the same biological being, though. So I don't think that would be possible because they're the same physical being.
Right.
Chris Brantley writes, do you think Bumblebee could be a step towards a Transformers series we fans have always wanted to see? I don't know what you mean by we fans. You mean you. Never speak for the fans. I always try to hesitate when people say to me, they got it. The fans want this. I'm like, speak for yourself. Like you don't represent me, and I don't want what you're talking about. So always be hesitant to saying that what the fans want. What you mean is what you and your friends want to see. If you're talking animated, look, Hasbro's always putting out new Transformers animated stuff. Always. If you're talking live action, no, you're not going to see a live action thing of this. That's just not cost.
I think when people say that it's Gen 1, they're always talking about Gen 1 Transformers, those kinds of things. And I understand that, but again, making a movie, going back and watching those Gen 1 Transformers cartoons?
I love them. Don't you speak ill.
No, they're just a little rough now.
I still
They're a little rough.
Connor Dixon is writing, so you hate Aquaman. Just kidding. Yeah, there you go. Movie Paradise writes, thoughts on legendary rebooting Toxic Avengers? Well, we already kind of covered that in the show today, so just rewind a little bit. You'll see our thoughts on that. Not big on the idea at first, but it's grown on me. I'm thinking it could be good. Sketch77 writes, can Thanos be redeemed? What if he sacrifices himself to save the universe? He believes in 50-50, not annihilation. Well, but he annihilated 50% of the population of the thing. Can Thanos be redeemed? No. He didn't just murder a child. He murdered hundreds of trillions of children.
Half the children in the universe.
Yes.
The infinitude of the universe. he's irredeemable.
Like, I'm sorry, I take it back. That's not enough. So I do not think he can be redeemed. Not in the least. Brian Clark writes, can you please take a video next time you're at the theater to demonstrate your popcorn straw butter distribution trick? I've tried a few times and it never seems to work right. Show us a way to. I will do that. For those of you who don't know what he's talking about, to me, you see, popcorn, Robert, popcorn is nothing but a butter delivery device. You know, the old nicotine wars used to see cigarettes are just a nicotine delivery device. Popcorn is just a butter delivery device to me. In the words of Chris Pratt's character on Parks and Rec, butter is my favorite food. So the first world problem that we as film fans have always, the struggle is real, my friends, that we've always had is you take your popcorn and you put your butter on it, but it's only on the top surface of the popcorn, Robert. You eat a little bit of the popcorn, and all of a sudden there's no butter. You got dry popcorn, Robert. You don't want dry popcorn. So there's this little trick that I've used, and I'm not the one who created the trick, but there's this little trick I use where I take a straw, and I run the straw down to near the bottom of the bag. Not to the bottom, but near the bottom. And then I attach the other end of the straw to the butter dispensary. And then we'll hold down the butter dispensary, and what I start to then do is bring the straw up and moving it around the bag until you get to the top. And now you have perfect, evenly distributed butter in perfect balance, as all things should be. And I'm sure Thanos would approve of this method. And I will. The next time I go to the theater, I will demonstrate the straw butter dispensary technique.
I can't wait to see this. I cannot wait.
It's going to revolutionize film going for you guys. I'm telling you. All right. Eric Saul writes, we're just going to run through these last few ones, guys. Eric Saul writes, with all the live-action Jokers we've had, what would you like to see with Phoenix that we haven't seen from others? Well, you know, one of the things that I've really appreciated, Robert, of all the different Jokers is every time a director has brought us a new Joker, they give us something different.
Yeah.
Like, it's a very unique, like, Jack's Joker was completely different from Caesar's Joker. Caesar's Joker was completely different from Heath's, and Jared's Joker was completely different from Heath's. Yet they were all distinctly the Joker, but all distinctly different. That will make the problem, make it more difficult as different incarnations of Joker to do a truly unique Joker who is still quintessentially the Joker is going to be harder. I honestly don't know. And I'm one of these guys that I don't like to put on filmmakers, here's what you need to do for me to like it. I just want to go and see what they've got in mind.
I think the important thing about the Joker is the Joker must have a philosophy.
Yes.
What is his worldview? Why is he the Joker? You know, Heath Ledger was a chaos theorist.
Yeah.
I mean, he was the ultimate example of 9/11. Some men just want to watch the world burn.
Yep.
You know, and I think Joaquin Phoenix is going to do something equally interesting. I can't wait.
All right, TK writes, going back to that horrible football game last night. Robert, your Seahawks beat my Vikings. Our offense was so bad that we fired our offensive coordinator today. We should fire our O-line as well. I mean, look, they both, again, when there was 3 minutes left in this game, it was 6-0.
Yeah, I can't even.
It was rough. And watching Wilson blow the end of the first half the way he did.
Ugh.
I mean,
and he's my man. I love my Russell Wilson.
They finished.
They
finished. That's the important thing.
Close only counts in horseshoes and hand grenades.
John During writes, since all the Avenger movies have been about the Infinity Stones, where do you think they will go? I think maybe the Quantum Realm War. I don't think so. I think one of the things I just finished saying, I don't want to tell filmmakers the ways they should go, but just in a general philosophy, I think you have to fight against the law of diminishing returns. I think you have to stop the urge to what's bigger than what we just did.
Yeah.
Then what's bigger than that? I think they've got to change levels, and I think they got to make an Avengers movie that's just about stopping a villain or something like that. But I don't know. And do you need your next Avengers movie to be part one? All these Avengers movies have kind of been building to Thanos.
Right.
Do you need your Avengers movies to be 3 or 4 films that all build towards something, or can they each just be standalone Avengers movies?
Yeah, I mean, look, you picked up a graphic novel and you asked me about A versus X, the Avengers versus the X-Men. I think it'd be really interesting to introduce the X-Men and they become a huge social problem. They threaten the world, Homo superior. You know, in the comics, there's always this thing that Homo sapiens were threatened by Homo superior, and Magneto's. What if Magneto comes and stages a revolt? How are the Avengers going to deal with that?
What's the response?
You never
Be
know.
interesting to see. Cobra writes, with Avengers in April now, is Hellboy in trouble now? I mean, look, it's not a matter of are you in the same month, it's how close in proximity are you. I will say this, though. You've now got 3 comic book movies in the 1 month with Shazam, Hellboy, and Avengers. It's just gotten tricky.
Right.
For Hellboy. When was it supposed to release? January? Was that the original release? Wasn't the January, February?
It might have been that long
I almost
ago.
kind of feel like they should have just left it there. But who knows? We'll have to wait and see.
Yeah.
All right. Cap Wolfster writes, have you all been watching the Arrowverse Elseworld stuff? What do you think so far? I saw the first episode, which was the Flash episode, because they swapped Supergirl and Flash on their nights. I thought it was pretty good. I haven't seen last night's episode, which I believe is the Arrow episode, but I saw the Flash episode, and I thought it was quite good. I thought it was like one of the things they do with these crossover events, they make it fun.
Right.
They make it fun. And with Barry and Oliver switching bodies, they do some really fun things with it. And they end the first episode with our first look at Batgirl. Or Batwoman. And I thought that was great. Have you watched any of it yet?
No, because I'm waiting I want to watch all 3 at once.
Yeah.
Get the movie experience. That's what I did last year.
We will have watched them all by the time we do Heroes. By the way, guys, just so you know, just because of our shooting schedule in the studio this week, we got a bunch of things going on in our studio. We have pushed Heroes this week just for this week, from Wednesday to Thursday. So the Weekly Hero this week will be on Thursday. Make sure you tune in for the Weekly Hero on Thursday, not Wednesday this week. But then next Wednesday, the Weekly Hero moves back to its regular time on Wednesday, just to let you guys know. Okay, Josh Goldberg, 4022 writes, went to see Schindler's List last night for the first time and thought it was a fantastic but hard to watch. I had to look away from some parts. Dude, we were just talking about this the other day, Robert, where I mentioned that there are some movies that I watch and think are incredible, but I could not watch them again. Recently, Detroit was one of those movies for me.
Right.
Loved Detroit. Cannot watch it again. Schindler's List is one of those movies I cannot watch again. It's an all-time Hall of Famer, Pantheon of the Gods movie, but I can't watch it again. It's because it's so effective in what it did. Have you had multiple repeat viewings of Schindler's?
You know, I really loved Schindler's List. I mean, I'm a big World War II buff, and I think, you know, history, especially the history of the Holocaust, is something that we're losing each and every day. There's less and less people that were even there that remember it. There's Holocaust denial. But Schindler's List does such a great job of bringing that history to life and showing people what happened. It's also the opening when Oskar Schindler ingratiates himself to the German High Command is one of the most virtuoso things Spielberg has directed. He brought in Janusz Kaminski to shoot that movie. I think that was the first time they worked together. He was a Polish cinematographer and brought a whole new look to that movie. And look, it's rough subject matter, but it's also an incredible story about how one man or one woman can make a difference in the world. And the performances, Ralph Fiennes as Amon Goth, oh my God, and Ben Kingsley and Liam Neeson, so great.
Across the board. Kind of in the same vein, Thomas Gilkey writes, what are your thoughts on Schindler's List? Is it one of the best Spielberg movies? It's back in theaters for this week. I think P.S. Love your show. Well, we were just kind of talking about that, and I think you have to mark it down as one of Spielberg's triumphs. Matter of fact, I just went to go see, every year Ann and I go see John Williams in concert at the Hollywood Bowl. The maestro of the movies, they call the series.
Good.
I go to it every year. This year, his special guest, and I had no idea, was Steven Spielberg. And Steven Spielberg comes out on stage for about 20 minutes to set up each musical piece and to tell some stories. And they had this piece from Schindler's List that they did, which was incredible. It is absolutely, you can tell when Spielberg talks about it, it might, when he's done and decides to retire, I wouldn't doubt it if he looks back and says, this was my crowning achievement, was that movie. Now, look, the thing about Spielberg is he's got 15 movies you could argue is his greatest ever. It depends. You want to look at an E.T., you want to look at Jaws, you want to look at Close Encounters, you want to look at the Abraham Lincoln, which he just did. You want to talk about, you want to talk about the war one he did with Tom Hanks. Why am I freezing on that?
Saving Private Ryan.
Saving Private Ryan. You want to? You can go on and on and on and on and on. It's Steven Spielberg, but it may well be one of his crowning achievements.
Well, another movie. I mean, Spielberg did Saving Private Ryan. He did Schindler's List, and also he did Empire of the Sun. Yep. Which is a really interesting look at the other side of what happened in World War II, about the Brits that were expats living in China and what happened when the Japanese invaded. Another fantastic film.
By the way, you may not know this. Some of you watch me know this, but you'd be surprised. You know what my favorite Spielberg film is? Have you ever heard?
I don't know.
It's going to catch you by surprise because no one else. I never hear anybody else say this. Amistad. Amistad is my favorite Steven Spielberg film. It's the film that introduced us to Djimon Hounsou.
Right.
But I love Amistad. Anyway, final question of the day, guys. This comes to us from Star Killer, who writes, when do you think we're going to get an all-out lightsaber war scene, 50 Jedi versus 50 Sith battling in Star Wars? Probably not anytime soon. I mean, I think the best bet for something like that is if the stuff that Rian Johnson is working on, after he's done with Knives Out, which, by the way, how cool does that movie sound?
I can't wait.
If he decides to go Old Republic, maybe something like that could happen, but I wouldn't hold my breath.
Yeah.
It's not going to... Look, 50 Jedi fighting 50 Sith. That's a great YouTube video. Right. It's a great...
There was a video like that.
Well, it comes from the video game, right?
Yeah.
Which is amazing. I love that. Do you build a movie around that? I think it's going to be a while before we see that. Don't get me wrong. I'd love to see it too. I just wouldn't hold my breath. I don't think it's coming anytime soon.
I mean, look, man, as much as Attack of the Clones takes a lot of shit, I love in the Geonosis, the arena when all the Jedis whip out their lightsabers.
Oh, yeah. Everybody gasps.
I love that.
Sure. Absolutely. All right, guys. That will do it for today's installment of the John Campea Show. Thank you so much for being here and joining us. I want to thank, of course, the one, the only, the great Mr. Robert Meyer Burnett. Robert, where can people find you online?
You can find me on Twitter at BurnettRM. Find me on Instagram at RMBurnett, or subscribe to my YouTube channel, The Burnett Work, and watch my new show, Robservations.
And you guys can simply follow me on Twitter, simply at John Campea. Guys, it has been an honor having you join us here as we talk about our favorite things. Don't forget, we're going to do this again tomorrow. Make sure you come back and join us at 9 a.m. This time, maybe our TriCaster won't freeze. Join us at 9 a.m. tomorrow morning, Pacific Standard Time. Me and Robert. Oh, actually, tomorrow's Wednesday.
Tomorrow's Wednesday.
You are back tomorrow.
Yes.
And then Thursday, I'm really excited. We've got our friend Greg Alba from Real Rejects is going to be in here joining us on Thursday. And then, of course, Thursday afternoon, Robert and I are going to be doing The Weekly Hero. Make sure you join us for that. That'll do it for us for now, guys. Thanks a lot for joining us. My name's John Campea, and until the next video, bye-bye.